Our top story this Friday, the House and Senate have passed a spending bill to prevent the government from shutting down by midnight tonight. It includes just a fraction of the funding President Trump had requested for a wall along the Mexican border. The White House says the president will sign the budget bill into law and then declare a national emergency that would allow federal money to be redirected toward building a border wall. A Yellowstone County jury says the actions of a Billings police officer were justified when he shot and killed a man at a casino in April of 2018. During a coroner's inquest Thursday, Sergeant Brett Becker described the moments he entered the Lucky Lil's casino on Grand Avenue that night and seeing people hiding. This was video showed to the jury. Becker says moments after they entered the casino, he spotted 44-year-old Sean Hubbard holding what he believed to be a gun on the other side of the casino. He described how he told Hubbard to put the weapon down, but he refused. Becker says everything changed when Hubbard said he had hostages and Becker feared for their safety. That's when Becker says he opened fire. Hubbard was shot multiple times and died later at a hospital. It was later determined that Hubbard's weapon was not a real gun. The deputy state medical examiner told the jury Hubbard had both methamphetamine and methadone, an opioid often used to help wean addicts off heroin, in his system. He said the level of meth in Hubbard's system wasn't the highest he'd ever seen, but was easily in the top 10. The American Civil Liberties Union is representing two Havre women who claim they were unfairly questioned by U.S. Customs and Border Protection at a convenience store back in May. A press release from the ACLU states the women, Ana Suda and Martha Hernandez, were standing in line when an agent approached them, commented on Hernandez's accent, and asked where she was born. The release goes on to explain that the two women were ordered to show identification. When asked why, the agent allegedly said it was because they were speaking Spanish. The lawsuit cites violations of the Fourth Amendment, which is a protection against unreasonable searches and seizures. Crow Tribal Chairman Alvin Notafrate Jr. officially has signing authority for the tribe's funds after a federal judge dismissed a case and canceled a scheduled hearing. The court was asked to determine who has that authority after Vice Chair Carlson Goes Ahead and Vice Secretary Sean Backbone wrote to First Interstate Bank that they were the legal signers. In an interpleader complaint, First Interstate asked the court to hold on to the funds until this could be settled. Judge Susan Waters stated that the bank had not shown there are two or more opposing petitioners who may claim entitlement to tribe funds. She also stated that the Crow Tribal Civil Court already determined on January 29th that Notafrate is entitled to access the funds. The judge said the court does not have interpleader jurisdiction, and she dismissed the case. A Crow spokesperson says the Crow Tribal judge will issue an order in the next 2 weeks to determine who the Crow Tribal chair is. Going on special assignment, drug prosecutions in Montana have increased by 33% in recent years. It's because drug traffickers are using Montana's interstates like a drug superhighway to bring massive loads of meth into our state. In the third and final part of her special series, Q2's Andrea Lutz shares the story of one Billings woman and how meth took years of her youth away.
Meth. It's known as the devil's drug. The demand is high, the supply readily available. Drug traffickers directly linked to Mexican cartels drive our interstate system like a drug superhighway, bringing meth to Montana and putting people's lives at risk.
We talk recovery.
People like Mandy Nunez.
It's like the best adrenaline rush you've ever had.
She spent many precious years of her life addicted to meth. By the time she was in her late teens, how she used it changed.
And then you have to steal to support your habit, and it just progresses from there.
She was in and out of jail and court. She was in and out of psychiatric care.
I ended up sitting my county time out in jail, and 2 weeks before I was due to get out, my husband fell off the rims and died. And that was a defining moment in my addiction.
When meth takes control in someone's life, local, state, and federal partners work to take control back. Project Safe Neighborhoods is a federal initiative to help fight Montana's drug-driven, violent crimes. In Yellowstone County, through Project Safe Neighborhoods, 124 people have been charged federally for meth crimes. 346 pounds of meth has been seized, and 96 firearms have been taken off the streets. Kurt Alme is U.S. Attorney for the District of Montana. If a drug case comes across his desk, the penalties are stiff.
If an individual is trafficking in more than 50 grams of meth, they're going to go away for a mandatory minimum of 10 years in prison.
Lieutenant Brandon Woolley explains why people are drawn to meth.
Some people end up getting into selling drugs because they just need to do it to support their habit, or they find out that the money's easy, and they'll tell you that meth is the devil's drug, and it's taken everything from them, and they wouldn't wish it on anybody else.
But for Mandy, there came a point where she did wish for penalties.
I knew there was nothing left in that life for me but prison sentence or a casket, and I knew that I had to do something different.
She summarizes the end of her addiction as a changing moment.
It was the only time that I've ever been arrested when it was like a relief. It was like, I don't have to do this anymore. Like, I knew jail wasn't going to be fun. It never is.
Mandy spent 9 months of her recovery here at the Yellowstone County Detention Facility. She detoxed, but said she finally had to choose to change.
I didn't have anybody call. I didn't call anybody when I got to jail, like not my mom, nobody. And it really hit me that I had sacrificed every relationship I had ever had with another human being for drugs.
Her changing moment changed everything.
I've gotten married to another person in recovery who's good and treats me well. I have a house, I pay rent, it's paid on time, it's usually early.
She takes what she knows about recovery and puts it to use at Rimrock Foundation in Billings. Mandy works as a rehabilitation technician supervisor, helping others through the painful effects of addiction.
When the pain and fear of change becomes less than the pain and fear of staying the same, people become ready. But until that happens, they do what they know. They do what they're used to. I'm just lucky enough to have reached that moment.
In Billings, Andrea Lutz, MTN News.
The Rimrock Foundation in Billings is Montana's largest addiction treatment center. However, the facility faces limits in space. It brings about another element in the fight against meth in Montana: treatment and having the resources. An update on I-90 near the Montana-Idaho line. The interstate is now open again. It was closed Wednesday afternoon into Thursday after 2 avalanches came spilling down onto traffic. Drivers on the road at the time say it all happened so fast.
I was pretty scared. I actually wasn't really looking at it. I was just concentrating on the road, and then my daughter said, "What's that?" That's when I was like, oh my gosh. Right. Slam on the gas, let's get out of here.
While the snow and debris from those avalanches were removed, several minor slides have occurred since then. Turning now to health news. In the midst of cold and flu season, St. Vincent Healthcare is seeing an influx of people needing care. But when people use the emergency room when they don't need to, it causes delays.
Instead of choosing to go to their primary care provider or the urgent care clinic, we're actually seeing those patients in the emergency department now, which can delay care for those emergent patients that are coming in. So we've had patients backing up that have been pretty sick and are unable to get beds in the inpatient unit due to kind of all of the volume that we've had.
Kaufman advises that fevers less than 100 degrees and sinus complaints can be taken to primary care or urgent care. Those experiencing chest pain, dizziness, or difficulty breathing are encouraged to go to the ER. It's also important to get yourself a primary care physician who can assist in preventative care. And if you're unsure of which course of action is best, St. Vincent Healthcare has a doctor on-demand service available where you can have a live conversation with a doctor via video chat through telemed. MSU Billings is seeing the best retention rate it's had in 5 years. There was a decrease of 27 students from the fall semester of 2018 to the spring semester of 2019. In the previous 4 years, MSUB has lost an average of 270 students between semesters. More than 2,500 students are at the university campus, with another 1,700 at City College, for a total of more than 4,200 students. Chancellor Dan Edelman credits the use of retention initiatives including a special course for freshmen and more sections for high-demand classes. He anticipates increases in enrollment over the next few years.